Hi guys, my name is Tyler Beckley and welcome to episode 8 of Barbells and Black Belts. Today's guest is Dr. Larry Funke from the Ohio Northern University. He is a doctor of engineering and he's also one of my Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu students. Today we're going to be talking about some of the similarities and what Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu can help you in your life outside of just training on the mats. Thanks for watching guys and hope you enjoy the episode. Hi guys, welcome to episode 8 of Barbells and Black Belts. I am here with my friend Dr. Larry Funke from Ohio Northern University. Dr. Funke is also one of my jiu-jitsu students, and I'm going to refer to him professionally as Dr. Funke. This is my friend Larry as well, that I refer to him too. But we are going to be talking about his career and some of the things that he brings to the table, and some of his analysis as well that I've loved over the years as I've gotten to know Larry, about figuring out where some of the things that he knows in his profession and in his expertise and education, and they really kind of come in alignment with a lot of the things that we would learn in sports or in different communities, and also some of the things that he's taken to his life as well from Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. So without further ado, I'm going to hand it off to Dr. Larry Funke. Larry, thank you very much too, man, for coming in for the podcast.
My pleasure.
Yeah, tell us a little bit about your background and what you do at Ohio Northern too.
Yeah, so I guess I'll go back. I grew up actually on the East Coast in Maryland, Clarksville, Maryland, right in between Baltimore and Washington, D.C. Found my way out to the Midwest for undergraduate, went to University of Dayton. My dad was a UD alum, so that's how I got out this way. I always get asked that, how'd you end up in Ohio from Maryland? So I did mechanical engineering there, and then went to University of Notre Dame in South Bend, Indiana. Got my master's and PhD, all in mechanical engineering. And from there, went straight to Ohio Northern University. So I just finished my 8th year of teaching at Ohio Northern University. Do a lot of stuff, systems, mechatronics, controls. So kind of on the electrical side of mechanical engineering. So yeah, started training jiu-jitsu, 3.5 years ago. Started getting the heavier lifting maybe 2.5 years ago.
And I guess my first question for you, and this is just general understanding of this, and it's not building bridges, Dr. Kyle Wagner. It's a little bit more than that. But tell us a little bit about some of the things with engineering that that you do. I mean, you kind of talked about it just a little bit, but some of the things that really like sparked you and some of your passions to get into engineering, what side you kind of took from it.
Yes, it's actually a really interesting question because, I mean, I feel like every 2 to 5 years over the last 2 decades, if you asked me that, you get a slightly different answer.
Yeah.
I mean, ultimately, I grew up just loving math and science, and I never was quite the stereotypical engineer that took stuff apart. I think I was a little too afraid of getting yelled at by my parents if I couldn't actually get it back together. But I always wanted to know how stuff works. My dad was a PhD chemist, actually. So just kind of got my love of science naturally from him.
Yeah.
But wanted to go more the applied route. So this math and science is cool, but I want to actually build stuff, get my hands dirty, so to speak. So I wanted to undergrad knowing that, but wasn't exactly sure. And just kind of as it progressed, mechatronics is really what gets me excited now. So mechanical, tronics, electronics. So it's a really broad category. And there's actually some universities that have entire degree programs in it now. I consider robotics actually a subfield of mechatronics. So it's all the how do you create motion, how do you control motion, and all those things. So I get to I basically get paid to play around with toys and teach other young engineers how to play around with toys, make motors move, make them do what you're doing. Talk about, hey, if you want to move this load, this distance, and this time, what's the math say? And then how do you practically go out and find the motor and hook it up and do the controls so it actually works?
I think part of it feels talking to you that like you've been sparked and you had a passion for it, and so I think that's where a lot of people get into education. It's how I got into coaching. Like, take your kind of same template for things. Mine was always athletics of some sort, where first it was football, and then it moved into mixed martial arts and then jiu-jitsu. To where either way, I was like, not only wanted to get my hands dirty and do the thing too, but I wanted to show other people how to do that thing too, So I guess my next kind of a prompt on this one was, what drew you to more of the education side, more of the teaching side from like, say, the practical, like working for, a big company, for instance. What was that?
Yeah, so that also goes back pretty far. I mean, as early as middle school, I would help my classmates, tutor them and whatnot. And then in high school, I was a member of National Honor Society, so we had mandatory tutoring. And I think I just kind of realized that, like, it was like enjoyable to help other people. It also made me understand the material better, because sometimes I experience this in coaching too, right? It's oh, this is how I do it, but that's not working for you. So what's maybe like a different way I can explain it, or a slightly different path to take to get there. And that just really excited me. So I actually kind of went into undergrad thinking like I want to go on and be a professor, right? Still had to like hand in research and, do a little more hands-on stuff than you would in, say, like a K-12 education. But still like have that experience like in the classroom teaching people. But I think being an engineer, that itch of kind of like, oh, I need to be like using my hands and doing stuff and not just teaching the same thing, definitely crept up. So I mean, I teach a whole lot of lab courses where we are going in there and actually doing the thing. Yeah. And then we talked briefly about I'm actually starting what they call a sabbatical year. So for the next 12 months, I actually won't be at ONU. I'll be working for a company called Graphic Packaging International down in Kenton, Ohio, just like as an automation engineer.
Awesome.
Helping getting some of their equipment run better. So I get a bit of that, in the real world, like hands-on engineering, but then still gets, after a year, come back, bring that knowledge back to the classroom, have fresh examples for my students. So yeah, it's just, been winning all around. I've been doing that for about 6 weeks now, and it's been a lot of fun so far.
Is that something that, not to get too much off the topic, but it's generally something I'm interested in. Yeah. Is that something that they recommend in your field, like every so many years, like to do something like that? I feel like staying fresh with, seminars and things like that is one thing, but having that a year of hands-on practical experience with, robotics or, whatever it is, in that field.
Yeah. So one of the other topics on there is my favorite answer is it depends. All my students know that, and they kind of poke fun of me at it. So, of course, my answer to that is it depends.
It depends.
So staying fresh, absolutely. What's recommended to, like, stay fresh and on top of your game is going to vary, certainly, like, institution to institution. So, like, what they're going to recommend at, like, an Ohio State or Notre Dame is going to be very different than at, like, Ohio Northern University.
Sure.
Because those first two are what they call R1 institutions. They're much more research-centric. So there, if you take a sabbatical, they're going to want you to like go work at a national research laboratory. They're going to want you to like go overseas and develop, research collaboration with some premier lab in Europe or something.
Interesting.
And it's all going to be much more research heavy, because quite frankly, that's a much bigger part of their job is getting research, getting grants, bringing in money, making publications. Mm-hmm. So in some ways, at least in my limited experience in that, right, because that's where I did my graduate work, right, I was at an R1 institution, they're actually almost going to, like, disincentivize some of that, like, out, like, in the industrial world, because, like, it's going to be very difficult for me to get any level of, like, grant support from the work I'm doing. I might be able to get one or two publications, but probably more from the, like, education side of things and the practical side of things about how do you combine industry and education, which I don't know, I'm kind of getting into, I feel like I need to put a disclaimer, like this is my opinion, not anyone else, because people at R1s might, everyone does what they love and find their home in different places. For me, ONU is considered an undergraduate, primarily undergraduate institution, and in mechanical engineering we only have bachelor's degrees. So we still do some research, and ultimately that's probably the real answer to your question is that research, staying relevant in the field, knowing what the latest topics are, what the latest trends are, Like that's how you stay relevant in the field. Sabbaticals in general are a way to like deep dive into that, or kind of like, take a break from the day to day of being a professor, but still kind of do something in your field. So people will go work in industry, they'll write textbooks, they'll go to research labs, they'll develop new courses and whatnot. So try to tie it back to where we started with all this.
No worries.
It's going to depend a lot on where you are. Certainly at an institution like ONU, where we definitely really push the hands-on, the vast majority of our graduates go work in industry. It definitely was seen as a very good thing by both, GPI because they're getting some extra help, and ONU because, we just had a faculty member retire after he was in industry for like 10 or 15 years and then taught at ONU for like 25 years and just retired. So that's a big base of industry knowledge that we just lost as a department. So me kind of going back in and seeing what's going on in industry and how that compares to what we're doing in the classroom and stuff is definitely seeing good there.
Well, I mean, it kind of leads me right into my next question on this about what kind of drew you to Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. And I think like us talking about this and I mean, just oddly enough about going on a sabbatical and about improving the program, about bringing knowledge back, things like that. I hear this common trope from people. I'm going to use our common friend, Rich Tepe, where he talked about jiu-jitsu for some people, it's like a tool for self-improvement. And so people who are interested in improving their skills or improving, something about like, say someone who has a master's degree or a PhD or something like that, about adding an accolade, something like that. Like if you want to even put it in those terms, like either way, they're the personality type to like kind of keep building and keep moving, you know what I mean? And keep learning too. I think that's the common one too. Like from all the people I've talked about, that's from some field of science, we all have this like curiosity, like all the time. Like, I don't know, can I? And like, sometimes it comes with like, how can I put that together? How can, that engineering brain. And sometimes it's, well, how does that work? I mean, me and you both stare at a Finley barbell, like that cable pulley machine. Like, we're like, how's that? I want to open that up, you know what I mean? And see how the pulleys work. Cause it's just natural curiosity from those things. And so I think to your, it depends kind of thing. That's always, I've heard in science, they say, I don't know is one of the best questions to say, because it means there's something to go know, like something to go learn, like if you ever think that you seal the book on it, well, we're Star Wars fans. It's like only Sith deal in absolutes. It's never, you're never sold on things because new evidence could be shown. That's why even gravity isn't 100%. I mean, you can pretty much bank on it
close
at this
enough
point.
For engineers most of the time.
Exactly. It's close enough to make other fields of study go ahead and be relying on it. But to the point, though, it is not 100%. And so if we're being honest with anything in science, it's like having that, well, it's one of your 3 C's, boom, curiosity, and just essentially having that. So, I mean, I'll let you speak on it, but it seems like that's what you've kind of told us the last couple minutes here, too. But what got you into jiu-jitsu?
I was going to say, you brought up so many different avenues I could take that with, and that dealing with absolute comments is definitely something we should circle back around to, because it's actually, and that saying I don't know too, if any students watching, please say that more often. If you don't say you don't know, I don't know that you don't know. We keep moving on and it just gets worse. But what got me into jiu-jitsu kind of depends how far back you want to go. So unlike a lot of the other folks like you've had on the podcast and what you were saying, I always was like into sports and moving my body, and I played a sport every season through middle school, but then high school came along and I pretty immediately realized that my talents lied in studies and not on the field. Ended up running cross country in high school, actually, what unlike Todd that was always pushing to, win races and get his scholarships and everything. I was happy if I finished. And then by my last year, I was happy if I didn't finish last in the race. And that was kind of my gold medal to steal Todd's thing.
Yeah.
So, fast forward to not, take the next hour telling this story. I, was always, I think a bit of that, pushing myself, but just trying to stay active and whatnot. And our neighbor's daughter actually started doing judo at the YMCA, and then my daughter started doing it, and that was kind of like, oh man, like this is kind of cool. Like this looks like a fun way to like stay active, and I was like learn a little bit like self-defense and stuff. I'm a pretty big guy, so most people wouldn't mess with me, but I don't know. You never know when someone's gonna be like, oh, I'm gonna take on that big guy over there. So it's actually another happenstance. You remember Bruce?
Yep.
He's actually a former student of mine who was a member of the academy here. And I happened to run into him leaving judo practice with my daughter one day, and he tells me about it. And I come by and check it out. And I was like, oh, yeah, you're like running a New Year's deals. I was like, I'll try this out for 3 months and, see how it goes, get some activity, learn a little bit about myself and my body. And really it was probably not even like after the first couple of weeks of being in here, meeting the people, and starting to make some of those like connections with other people is, where that, okay, well, how far can I push myself? And it really became less and less about the like physicality and self-defense. I mean, that's still important, why I'm here, but like the relationships we've built, like, I mean, doing a podcast on this,
Sure.
right, 3.5 years later, like never would have crossed my mind. But honestly, that's why I'm coming back. I don't know how much I can kind of go through and start going through some of the contacts or some of the other topics we have planned. But I mean, it's been professional building too, right? Like I've had speakers come in. Actually, there's 2 different people that have spoken to classes at Ohio Northern University that came about because of me being in here on the mats talking to people, before and after class.
It's one of those things that I mean, I try to put a label, I guess, on, if someone is the kind of person, like some people, they don't know. They're just looking for something, you never kind of know until they step in the door. I know the one thing that you told me is that you went to the website and you like the fact that we put on like the values and like the mission statement we had on there, things like that, that you were already looking for something like, oh, okay, cool. These people got their stuff together a little bit here, or talking about things like community building. That was another one that you had mentioned that you saw on the website. But everybody comes in here for like all different reasons, and it's really funny, like where they will tell you that they stayed for a different reason. You know what I mean? So like as people are like, yeah, I came in because I was looking for self-defense or whatever, and then, stayed because they started learning worm guard and they want to do tournaments, and you know what I mean? Or like whatever, whatever it is.
Well, and I think that's like the reason stayed. I mean, I think that's probably the main reason that I agreed to come on and do the podcast, right? Because if you go back and look through all the awesome people you've been talking to, and all these people are like black belts and gym owners and professional athletes or collegiate athletes, and like I wasn't any of those things. So I was kind of first like, why are you talking to me? But then I think because like we were talking about this too, right? You can't just have an academy of like potential Olympians or like former, college athletes, right? You need to have like the hobbyists, as you call it. You need to have everyone around, both just from a purely financial standpoint of you can't have 10 people and keep your academy afloat. But then also like those people can't get better if they are only training with the same 10 people over and over again. So I mean, yeah, I'm definitely here. I definitely, want to, work my way up to black belt and learn the ranks. And I like competing once in a while. But I mean, honestly, it's the mental health benefits, it's the like stress reliever benefits, and just that connections and the community. Like, there's a whole bunch of people here that like I consider like really close friends now. We like hang out outside of the academy now that I doubt I ever would have met. And I think especially someone, right, like with the PhD, works in academia, we call it the ivory tower sometimes. Like you can get trapped in the ivory tower because you're surrounded by other PhDs. I think really people in general have this risk of just you kind of surround yourself like the echo chamber, right? So coming in here, I mean, we got people with high school diplomas, we got people with like every level of education up through PhD. Like I'm not the only. I mean, your first podcast was also a doctor who trains in here. So just getting to meet people that have different perspectives and, talk to them off the mats, and then it comes on the mats like, well, it doesn't really matter. Like we're here, we're going to learn together. We're going to try to choke each other. But also, stay safe and be buddies afterward. And that was I think Kyle put it really well for me pretty early on, so I'm blatantly stealing this from him. But like when you step on the mats, like your head has to be on the person in front of you. You can't be thinking about, something at home or something at work. 'Cause like you're going to get hurt, right? You aren't going to be paying attention, and you won't break fall properly, or you won't tap soon enough or something. So you have to be focused on the thing that's right in front of you. And I think ultimately my work-life balance now versus 3 years ago when I started is so much better. And I think jiu-jitsu was a huge part of that, because I was able to kind of take that mentality. So like before I started training jiu-jitsu, I was really bad about like I'd be at work and I'd be thinking about like, oh, I should be home with my family, or like what I got to do when I get home with them. I'd be spending time with my family, and I'd just like absentmindedly just start checking my email or start worrying about preparing for my next class or a deadline coming up. And kind of since starting jiu-jitsu and some of the other things that have come with it, I've noticed I've been much better. Like when I'm at work, like I am fully at work, to the point that I sometimes like forget to eat lunch until 3 hours later because I'm like so focused on the thing I'm doing. But that also means like I'm not taking work home nearly as much as I used to. So that when I'm at home, I'm solely focused on them. And when I'm in the academy, I'm focused on the academy. And I'm fortunate enough, both my daughters do it. My wife is great. She has no desire to be in that close of proximity to people, so I don't think we'll ever get her in here on the mats. But she loves to come and watch. So we have our family time like on the mats.
And she comes to all the events and stuff too. Like everybody knows who, even some of the spouses that don't do jiu-jitsu, they're here and they're part of things, especially when they got kids and stuff and they bring them to the events. The mindfulness part of it, we've talked about this a couple of times on the podcast. I always call it the Bruce Lee philosophy, because he talks about like being in the moment. He uses an easy example of, if you think about the last punch, you're living in the past. If you're trying to predict and guess, or maybe you have a negative outcome. You're someone who, I worked with the University of Findlay softball team, and they came even down to the academy last spring. And we talked a lot about thinking about losing the game. Like all my friends are, my teammates are going to be upset because I'm striking out. Like you're thinking in the future, like you need to worry about this pitch right here. And jiu-jitsu is a great equalizer on that, because you learn really quickly, like you do not have headspace. You do not have time. You do not have any kind of like, I don't have enough energy to waste my the tank on anything other than what's going on right here on my neck right now, or wherever, or whatever position you're in. And you do, like you are forced to like abandon everything else, and it kind of teaches us how to do that more. And you're exactly right. I mean, I don't even know if we put that on the notes or something. I think that's a very important point to talk about, where jiu-jitsu kind of like, or something, I'm not sure. A lot of people say like music, when they're playing, they're in rhythm, they're playing drums, they're playing guitar, and they kind of tune everything out, and you have to be in the moment, and you have to feel the music and stuff. Or mine is jiu-jitsu all the time. Even this morning when we got up there, I was like, I'm super sore and stuff, but I always feel mentally so much better when I get some training in,
Yeah, I feel bad sometimes, right? Because I probably spend, with the kids class, I probably spend like 7 or 8 hours a week in here. And I'll sometimes feel bad, and I'll talk to my wife about it, because fortunately, we have a really great relationship where we talk through everything. She's like, no, because like you have like energy, and like you need to go like use that productively,
like a puppy
or
dog.
else, almost, man. And she's like, no, I just want to sit. Like she gets done with a hard day at work, and she just wants to like lie on the couch and read her book and like not be bothered. And like I want to do that for maybe 10 minutes, and then I'm like, okay, I want to play a game. I want to go for a bike ride. I want to do something. So by coming here, I kind of get all that out.
Yeah.
So she's like, no, it works for me too. You go. So yeah, this morning I came in here because I'm like, I got to be moving my body. I was traveling this week and like missed a couple workouts because of that. So
it's I think just to segue to our next part too, and how the kind of personality and the kind of person that you were too. Scientifically based, I mean, you told me the story about like how you'd ask your mom to like give you harder math problems and stuff than what you had in like fourth grade and whatnot. So my next one is how Dr. Funke relates the process of engineering and math to the logic of jiu-jitsu on there.
Yeah, so I think there's kind of like two topics I want to go down there with, and one is the other Dr. Wagner, so Hallie Wagner, Kyle's wife, who's a PhD biomedical engineer. So her and I will talk about engineering and jiu-jitsu once in a while. And there's something called free body diagrams in engineering and physics, where you just got a diagram and you like draw in vectors for all the forces and whatnot. It's a lot about like you're teaching a sweep and it's like, oh, and she just starts like mentally drawing the free body diagram of where all the forces are and stuff. So I want to make sure to give her credit for that, because somehow like I didn't really like click on that until she brought it up in a conversation with her. So yeah, I mean, there's definitely like, you know, gravity and physics and stuff.
Real quick, I always use a nerdy video game one. That's when it's the same thing you're talking about, but I always say like the lines on Tiger Woods golf, like which way the greens are rolling. It's like, so when you're doing a scissor sweep, it's like this leg, and you know what I mean? So you're drawing lines of force and where it's being applied to, and why it would be like octopus guard, for instance, like why it's better for you to have your shoulders higher and your hips higher, you know, so you could explain that through geometry and math and see where, you know, lever points are.
The other one I want to talk a bit about is I'm actually kind of wearing the shirt, so it says Keen on it. It's the Kern Entrepreneurial Engineering Network. So it was founded back in 2004. Ohio Northern University was actually one of the founding members. And they have, you alluded to it earlier, the 3 C's they call it. So curiosity, connections, and creating value. I mean, for me, you mentioned curiosity comes up a lot of like, oh, what happens if I do this? And so even like in rolling, it's come more of, instead of like always being methodical and like not doing it unless I know it's the right thing, I'm like, oh, well, let's see what happens. Yeah. And sometimes it's like, oh, shouldn't have done that. This is really bad. And sometimes it's like, oh, that worked better. I wonder if I add this little part, will it get even better? You talked about that a lot. Connections, I'm going to skip for a second. Creating value. I mean, certainly I think you and Todd are the ones I've heard you talk the most about. And then we've talked some too about creating value isn't just monetary value. It's also, right, that community aspect and being, you know, kind of like a force for good in your community and bringing people in, and that jiu-jitsu is more than just the physical side. So there's a lot of value creation in that. And I think that's kind of connection for me too, is right. Like I came here for the physical, like practice of jiu-jitsu, and I stayed for like everything else that came along with it. And that's where I think it got to connections. And when they talk about connections in that, it's not just, you know, like business connections, right? It's not like networking isn't really what they mean. So in an engineering sense, it's like, well, how does this topic that we learned in like statics in sophomore year connect to this topic in mechanical design and junior year, and then helps me produce a better prototype for my senior year capstone project? So it's connecting topics across disciplines.
Sure.
Is what we talk a lot about. So, I mean, that's come up in the like relating like physics and statics and free body diagrams to jiu-jitsu and back and forth. And
I mean, while you were doing it, and I can't help it sometimes, but my ADHD goes off when you say certain things. When I hear like the curiosity, connections, creating value on these, like in terms of jiu-jitsu, I hear connections, and I'm hearing you use old school fundamentals, but you also use a principle that you might have picked up from another guard, and you put them together, and that's how a new guard got created. You know, I'm not sure if the person thought of it that way, but if you broke it down and you read it out like a story, you'd be like, oh, well, they were doing good, solid stuff, and then they found this next because of probably the curiosity. And then it creates a lot of value if you get them tapped out or you score some points, you know? So, I mean, the jiu-jitsu mindset is like geared towards what you said the Kern Family Foundation was, like trying to get entrepreneurial mindsets and like geared into those students' brains to where you're just like, don't worry about failing. Like, it's okay. Like, it's going to break sometimes, and it needs to, because you need to figure out why it broke. And it's like, in jiu-jitsu, that's, I think Kyle used the term of it. It's a sport of failure. It's like baseball, you know? You're going to fail a whole bunch before you get it right, dude.
Yeah, and I think that's, right, so the entrepreneurial-minded engineer, right, is what we're trying to create. So it's not that we are making a bunch of entrepreneurs, we're making engineers that aren't just going to sit back and kind of wait for their boss to tell them what to do. We're trying to make engineers that'll go out there and like attack problems and try to figure out how the problem that landed on their desk this week is related to the problem that landed on their desk last week, and what that connection is, right? And end up creating, that value. And it's not always going to work. And that's something that as engineers, so many of us go into engineering because like, oh, I was good at math and science. Like we call them polar preview days where prospective high school students come on campus. And it's the number one answer. I would say I'd be shocked if more than 10% of the people I talk to don't say something like, oh, why are you interested in engineering? Well, I was good at math and science. So somebody, parent, guidance counselor, sibling, friend said, you should look at engineering. It's like, okay, cool. But like, it's so much more than that. And the danger of that, and this kind of gets back to that dealing in absolutes, is in like K-12 math, right? And a lot of science too. It's all like, this is the answer. Right, like you follow the procedure, and this is the answer, and I circle it, and I get my points, and I get an A on the exam. Yep. And this is, definitely where I like fell into that. Like the first time I did what we call a co-op as an undergrad, and got out into like the real world and had to actually apply some of this stuff, and it's like, oh, like there are like rights and wrongs, but like there isn't like the solo answer anymore. And trying to instill that into my students. So actually first just me like realizing that and getting comfortable with that, and then trying to instill that in my students is where that it depends from earlier comes as well, of like, oh, what's the best motor? Well, it depends on what your application is. Like this motor could be great or it could be the worst thing ever.
Should I use this move in jiu-jitsu? I don't know. Like maybe?
Yeah, like, right? Like you can have a great scissor sweep, but if you aren't like in that position, right? Like if you're standing, that doesn't help you at all.
Terrible choice.
Yeah.
So it's like the same kind of mindset. As you said, it's an entrepreneurial mindset, because what I'm hearing also is like trying to essentially get somebody to think outside the box, to get somebody to not just solve problems from a book, but be able to have a brain capable of it. I mean, that was a lot of like, me and you had this conversation the one night. I used to get like, when I was younger, I'm like, why do we have to learn this stuff? We ain't doing Pythagorean theorem and, practical applications. And when you get to higher education, you start to figure out where they're trying to make you be able to solve a complex problem, that you have a brain that is capable of complex equations, and sometimes that is just building skills and stuff. And then obviously as you get higher up, and you're gonna funnel down into more of the practical stuff. But I didn't understand that as much when I was a kid.
Oh no, it's definitely hard. And I was just the flip side, right? Like the standard is people like, oh, why do I have to learn this math stuff when I'm ever going to use it? And I was more like, oh, why do I have to learn this like history stuff when I'm ever going to use that? But no, it's all important. You sparked a story I haven't thought about in years. Actually, I had a mentor at Notre Dame. His name was Dr. Mike Stanisek. He actually passed away a couple years ago. But he would talk about like homework and like giving the student practice and giving them these like nasty, complex analysis problems that like you would never actually do out in the real world, but it like reinforced the concepts really well. So when students complain about it, he'd be like, oh yeah, so when does the football team have to run through tires in the middle of the game? Because that's like one of the like classic agility drills, right? Like, step through tires, or now like you got like the plastic ladders and stuff that you go through. It's like not everything you do like directly like correlates to what you're going to have to do, but it makes you better in some way. And so we say with engineering too, is like, I'm not necessarily training you to go out there and like be a great engineer, like first day, or like have all the knowledge to do what you need to do. I'm training you to like be able to solve complex problems quickly and like with like efficacy.
The podcast that we did, he said the analogy was with jiu-jitsu, for instance, it's not teaching you the technique you're going to do against the bad guy. He said, we're trying to teach you to be the person that doesn't go, hey, Sarge, there's a bad guy over here in front of me. He said, that's what we're trying to do. And it's like, I've heard that from, we had a guy that fought MMA as well. And he would come back afterwards, I got hit with this. Can you show me the move for this? And I remember Coach Sterling was like, you need all of the moves. You know what I mean? It's more of a mindset thing than anything. So I think to your your mentor that you had, his point on that is like, this is skill building, and it's building the resilience to somebody that would take that problem and see it as in like, this guy's challenging me and my brain, and we're going to figure this out. So, cause he's a mentor too. So it's just seeing that as much as well. Like that to me, he screamed like football coach to me without even that analogy. Like, I'm like, okay, I see where that guy went there. Cause that is what, an educator is. They're coaching too. Yeah. They're just teaching you, not football or jiu-jitsu or something. They're like, we're going to learn, X, Y, and Z in this engineering course. So, the conversation me and you had, I think it was like a week or two ago, like at jiu-jitsu afterwards. And when we were talking about some of the things that I learned through my business degree, and they go right along with some of the things that you're already teaching in there, because an entrepreneurial mindset is like you're trying to innovate, and it doesn't always mean make money. And we both know in the engineering field, if you got enough of an entrepreneurial mindset, it's going to be pretty easy for you to make money, because you're going to have the brain that says, here's the next thing, here's the next innovation. Like AI can be used for a lot of these more, like, I guess, rudimentary type equations and problems. So we need the ones that are making the connections across of like, hey, we've never looked at it this way. And we didn't, I don't have an idea right off my head, but you know what I mean? Like, that's how we create the new guard in jiu-jitsu or the new iPhone. I don't know, whatever.
Well, I mean, and AI is getting better and better at not just like the rudimentary stuff. Like there was time period there where I was giving it questions for my exam, and it beat the class average more often than not, actually. Just
coming up with stuff in 5 seconds too.
Yeah. So it's
computation.
So figuring out how to use that, right? And that's exactly where that curiosity and connection and everything is like, okay, like we can fight this, which quite frankly is just a losing battle. I always roll my eyes whenever faculty talk about trying to ban it or whatever. It's like, no, like it's here.
That's
like
a serious voice. Like I know our topic's not AI, but you have like serious people at the university are like, ban AI.
Fortunately, I'm hearing it less and less, and I can't think of anyone specifically at our institution that I've heard say it. The biggest one, honestly, and I don't have an answer for this, is with like writing is the one that comes up the most, because like you're trying to actually like teach them the skill of writing, and if like Chat GPT or whatever is just writing it for you, then they can't like assess your ability to write. And I don't really have a good answer for that one. But especially in engineering, most of the people in engineering are very much of like, well, this is just another tool. Like, this has been brought up of like, I don't know how many years ago, but before calculators were ubiquitous, like they used to teach engineers how to take like square roots and cubic roots by hand, because you have to do square root of everything. Sure. And you don't have a calculator. And like when calculators came out, like it took some time. There was some debate on like, do we still teach this or not? It's like,
sure.
No, like, so like I have no clue how to take the square root of something by hand anymore, because I grew up with calculators. I think AI is going to be doing the same thing, right? And the people that kind of have that forward thinking, that entrepreneurial mindset to be like, okay, like what is it good at? What is it bad at? And making sure like you, like in engineering, computer science especially, is like, okay, like what are you going to bring to the table that the AI can't already bring to the table? Because right now, at least, like it's way cheaper than you are.
I have a friend that he's from California, Jiu-Jitsu black belt as well, and he and I were talking about the AI being able to compete. The joke all came about like, AI is not going to take over your professor job with jiu-jitsu, I'm like, dude, not yet. I'm just saying. But
I mean, it'll show you with like 6 fingers teaching the move, but
right.
They're close.
He'll get some of it right. But he kind of like said it. Why even ask that question first? He goes, I'm not thinking about competing with AI. I'm thinking about it helping me do my job better. And he's like, so if you're always thinking about like, we got to ban this, we got to like, if it's the reality of the world that we're living in, that you have to accept it, in my opinion. Like you have to accept that we are now living in a post, kids are going to have AI at their fingertips. Maybe they got even the premium one. I don't know, man. It's like, it seems like something where you have to continuously come up with different ways to, well, one, keep moving forward and have that entrepreneurial mindset. Like we're trying to break the minerals down to make microchips. I don't want people in the mines. You know what I mean? It's like we have to move past things at a certain point, you know?
Yeah. I think that's where we did. The biggest times I've come across people trying to ban AI has been like on homework and stuff of it, just like doing the assignment.
Sure.
And you're kind of like, man, if you're trying to do that, you kind of missed the point, because like it hasn't been AI, but there's been different companies where you can get solutions, and then people are like, oh, well, I'll just write my own homework problems. Well, guess what? Those companies have paid subscriptions where if you send them the problem, they'll solve it within 24 hours for you. So like it's been there. Quite frankly, like the free AI like kind of leveled the playing field a little bit, if anything, because now like everyone has access to the help. Instead of only the people that could afford the the subscription rates. So it's interesting from like kind of the equity standpoint that it almost like evened it, but now you got paid versions of. I had a AI too. We're getting like way off topic on this. But
that's okay. I mean,
where it leads to.
I mean, Chris, I wasn't gonna bring it up, but the Moneyberg guy, the Derek Moneyberg, he's the one that was paying everybody for private lessons and everything else too. And some of these people, to your point, like if you have a money advantage or something like that too, where eventually, in the end, the jiu-jitsu or the product that they're going to bring a company, if we're going to just parallel it to engineering, if they took the shortcuts and everything else, they're not going to be the ones creating the next iPhone, or they're not going to be the ones really learning jiu-jitsu or really excelling at it too, because they're taking some kind of shortcut that's,
Yes, that's where the line comes in of like, people are always like, there's always going to be shortcuts and ways to cheat or be dishonest in assignments and whatnot. So finding ways to try to like minimize it the best you can, because the last thing I want to do is kind of put our stamp of approval on a student by getting that diploma from ONU, and then they go out to a company and they don't know what they're doing, right? I mean, it's fortunately, like no
sending a black belt out to another academy, and they're like, "Who gave this guy a belt?" Exactly. Yeah.
And I mean, fortunately, I'm not particularly concerned about them like killing someone off the bat or something, just because any company like they aren't going to just hand the keys over to build that bridge or that piece of equipment, right? They're going to have checks and balances, but I am worried about
how that reflects on your program. You get a couple of them kids, like who you sending us?
I mean, one of our big draws, like plugging ONU a little bit, is we're like we're ranked number 2 in the state of Ohio for return on investment. Basically, so like, we're a small private, we cost more than say the Ohio States, but they look at our students, 10 years after the fact, and basically like similar people like going to Ohio Northern versus somewhere else, like our students end up money ahead more often than not.
Which one are you getting the value with?
Absolutely. A lot of that's because like we have really good job placement numbers. But and if we start passing people through that didn't actually learn anything and can't translate into the job, those are going to plummet, right? So I mean, it's
not a very good entrepreneurial mindset too, because now you're putting bad quality out there.
Exactly.
I mean, it's as many conversations as we've had, and I know that you're super like passionate about this. Like Larry, another one of the things that we could get off into talking about jiu-jitsu too is about like Larry comes in and his both of his daughters do jiu-jitsu here, and he comes in and he helps coach the kids class on days that he's able to, and he started talking about like his experience of coaching, and you said that last week. Can I put this on a professional experience? And Kyle was like, yes, sir, absolutely. Just because it makes us like better at understanding, some of these different things and why these concepts are so important too. And so if you're going to instill these concepts into people of like, you're back here learning cursive writing while student over here is using AI to help him with a project that he had some good ideas and he was using AI as a tool. But like I said, this one's over here learning cursive and stuff. I'm using an extreme example, but it's like sometimes that's going to set your program back too, because you're not living in the future and you're not creating that next, batch of, not only great engineers and great minds, but also someone that has, your 3 C's there as well.
Yeah.
And that's another one too about me and you had a conversation beforehand about like creating value, where I think my business degree like really like helped me out from not only as a jiu-jitsu school owner, but as my jiu-jitsu as well, because I started seeing it more from a mindset of an instructor of like, I have to create value for everybody that comes in my door because you're my student. So let's say you came in as a white belt and I just, the lack of a better way to put it, just beat the shit out of you basically.
Yeah.
That's not creating value for you. So I guess that from my mindset there too, I was thinking like, I got to make sure to create value for each student that I roll with. And by doing that, my jiu-jitsu got a lot better because I was training with that person, because I was trying to get that person like, here's what this person needs to work on a little bit, or, hey, I need to train this a little bit. They can work some offense or whatever. And that's that mindset of creating value. It helps in other areas, so
I was
much.
talking about, I was rolling with, I think he said it was his third week in the academy. So a brand new white belt in our academy. And
Jake,
Yeah, we were talking about that of like, I think he like pulled guard on me, and I was telling him how sometimes like when new people pull guard on me, I'll literally just pick them back up and then sit guard myself because I'm like, I'm a big guy. It's like I'm a big guy. It's like you pull guard on me, I'm gonna smash past you. Like it'll probably hurt. You won't like it, or I'll be like nice and do it with really bad technique and a ton of space. But like either way, like neither of us are getting anything out of that experience. So, like, I've been more intentionally with people, like, lower ranked than me, especially smaller than me, like, get into bottom. A couple times, I've even just straight up, like, bear hugged them and, like, rolled them, like, basically swept myself to get to bottom just because I'm like, I get stuck under you, like, all the bigger guys in here, right, that are bigger guys, higher belt rank than me. I get stuck under them all the time. So I'm like, okay, I got a new guy. I'm going to play bottom, like, try to, like, figure out how to get back on top. Let them attack from the top some and whatnot. And then when I'm with, you or Kyle, like I'm gonna like bring my A game and try to like sharpen that, right? So it's absolutely that, creating value, looking for ways like mutually beneficial, right? If you're coming in here and just beating everyone, like
we'd have to have Kyle here, but how is this saying that starts from judo about it being mutually beneficial to everybody? It's like,
oh yeah, I know what you're talking about. I'm not going
it's
to
this
come
forward
up with
saying. I'm sorry, Kyle, but essentially, it's like the first thing that you're underneath the understanding that if we all play by these same rules, then we're all going to have a better time and we're all going to benefit more because we're playing by these same rules. It's like that if we all agree to particular things of like, hey, I get it that. One of our guys that was in here today, Kev. Like Kev's 62 years old, and he's had cancer and stuff. Like if you roll with Kev, he's going to teach you some things too. But he's also 155 pounds and 62 years old, and he was showing Grant some X guard stuff that he does too. And to Grant's, to his credit, like he's like, cool, absolutely. But Grant's also 250 pounds of gorilla.
Oh my gosh, I do not like. I rolled with both of those guys today too, and
he's learning.
Grant is a tough guy, man.
And he very much is, and he's like he takes that. And me and him we're on the same kind of boat where, he played 4 years of college football at the University of Findlay. I was the same way as well, and I constantly remember Coach Keys. When I go out on the field when Grant was playing. Rob Keys, he's the special teams coach for Ohio State now. But his big thing he would say is strain. He'd just strain. He's like, you're not straining. Like he would just walk around just yelling, strain. Like you need to strain more. And like that's the opposite of usually what you hear in jiu-jitsu academies. There was like, breathe. Like why aren't you breathing? Remember George told me the story about Hicks and Gracie, where he's like, "Oh, you're so much better than me. You don't even breathe. You don't need oxygen to beat me." He said, "I was so embarrassed." Like in football, you hold your breath for a 6-second play, whatever. Yeah. It's like you don't even think about breathing. And so, to the point, some people they just need to go through some of that process a little bit, and when they learn, hey, this would be mutually beneficial to everybody if we, trained with everybody and learn how to train with other people too.
Leslie, you are far safer in here, right? It's like anyone who starts out, I'll tell them like you are far safer rolling with like me, the 350-pound blue belt, or like Gary, 350-pound purple belt, than like some 100-pound white belt, because like the white belts haven't learned that yet. Yeah, most of the time, right? Like the worst injuries, and really the only injuries I've ever witnessed myself in the mats have been when it's two white belts going. It's usually this going too hard, haven't learned that kind of control, and it's nothing malicious by all. Don't get me wrong, but it's just they're like, oh, let me try this thing, and like they just send it too hard and don't think through. They're like, oh, this person doesn't know how to break fall yet. Like
The one kind of thing that we've been doing for black belt promotions, if you remember the last one, any black belt that comes in, I ask them to say a couple words of like wisdom. And it's more like at a wedding, like, how did you have so much success? And it was all like about how to be a black belt is what I've been calling it. Like, here, pass on words to the new black belt on how to be a good black belt. And one of them that I heard a long time ago was, when you become a black belt, it's not about worrying about your safety, it's about worrying about their safety too. And especially when you're the higher rank, like, you almost have to have that as the paramount thing. So if you're on there and he's trying something, it might just be like, whoa, let's start from close guard. Let's just do that, And then in your mind, like, this is way safer than when we were just doing, Yeah. Or if you get to that position of like a leg entanglement that that wasn't malicious, but he threw a reap on or wherever, you'd be like, hey, freeze, stop.
Yeah.
And then tell them and not be mad about it or anything and be like, hey, it'd be a lot safer if we just did it this way. They're just going to be like, okay, blue ball guy, okay. You know what I mean? Because I don't know what's going on. And that's some of the general vibe of jiu-jitsu, where we, as we said earlier, it's a sport of failures and stuff, and we're okay with it. And having that like kind of mindset that, hey, if we're teaching each other how to be better, students, be better, jiu-jitsu practitioners too.
Well, I think that comes back into, right, kind of like, I think the theme of this, right, is, how do we take those lessons from jiu-jitsu elsewhere? And I think that shows up too, of like, failure isn't inherently bad. In fact, like, you can't get better at anything if you aren't failing. Right? Like, I tell my students this. I actually put together a slide deck that's just saved in my computer as failure.pptx, where I just talk about, look, like, I want you to fail, like, not, but the key is I don't want you to stop there, right? So even backing up, I want you to fail differently, right? So I do a lot of hardware stuff. Like, so I tell them, I already fried this chip. I have a driver.
Fail a different way.
Yeah. Like, I already burnt this chip. You can see the scorch marks on it. Don't fail that way. We already learned that lesson.
That's why you have to learn from history, by the way, Larry.
Yeah, I know. I actually love history. That's the first subject that
we were kids, though. We were kids.
But like, right, so like, so fail differently if possible, right? But it's never stop there, right? It's get curious about it. Like, why did you fail? Try it again. Try it differently and grow from it. And that's what I want to seek. And I tell them, like, if you aren't failing, then you aren't trying hard enough. You aren't pushing. If you aren't failing, then you're that, blue belt that just comes in and beats up the trial class guy every time.
It's a meme for a reason. It's a meme for a reason,
And I think even just like in life and mental health is some of that too. Like, one of the things I wrote down when we were exchanging ideas is like, even now I find myself sometimes like, struggling with something or like, works hard. And it's like, well, at least it's not, my fellow 300-pound ultra heavyweight sitting on my chest trying to choke me. Like, I got out of that. Like, I can get out of this too.
Yeah. I think there's a lot of parallels. And again, it's like we keep, sometimes when we're talking about, one thing comparing to the other, like jiu-jitsu, like helping out in a professional life or something. And like, when I started the podcast, that was the general idea that I was going to do. Like, what am I going to talk about? We're going to talk about jiu-jitsu is what we're going to talk about, or we're going to talk about fitness or things that can create value for people too. I think a lot of the parallels that I've drawn from it is, number one, people figure out what they can do. And so they figure out themselves. So if I'm using jiu-jitsu as a template here, it's like, if you figure out what you can do and then you go try to apply it and you try to essentially create an experiment. Like, I'm going to try this thing. And then when you fail, you've got a couple different things. Because in jiu-jitsu, there's also that element of like squish that you were talking about, where you don't just like fail a problem and get like wrong answer. It's wrong answer in the form of usually, getting your ass kicked a little bit too. And so there's a little bit of that. And there's also, the ego stuff and humility about this as well, about failing. And I think that's a big part of it. From a student perspective, we're not talking about, and we could be, by the way, because if you get a bad grade or anything else too, it's like, or if an experiment fails, it's like, keep going, keep trying, because it's the same thing. So that's why me and Amy and I think you and Kyle and Hallie that we've talked about as well are just really big on it. Of course, you got your kids in jiu-jitsu, so you're probably on board with us, but how it can affect kids, and it starts to make that kind of mindset early of like, go try it. Go try it. Who cares? Like whether it's engineering or whether it's, something in business, just starting a business, something like that too. Again, that having that entrepreneurial mindset, that's like, let's go figure it out. You know what I mean? And if we fail, like we'll figure it out. We won't fail so hard. We'll be okay. I told that to my nephew when he graduated from Tiffin University, and he did an internship and they didn't offer him another job back too. And he was really distraught. And I talked to his roommate, and he's like, he's a smart kid. He'll figure it out. I mean, he was so Irie, like Jamaica about it. Like, he's like, nah, Jake's a good kid. He'll figure it out. He's smart. He'll be good. And Jake saw, like the world had crashed down.
Yeah.
I was like, you know what I mean? I'm like, no, you'll be all right.
Well, that's because, and I think that's a great point, because we see this all the time in our freshmen and sophomores of like, so many of them like never really had to work all that hard in high school. Like, I can't tell you how many students in their first couple semesters come in, they're like, yeah, I got all A's and B's in high school and never studied. And they come here, it's like, well, you can't do that. There might be a couple classes you can still get away with that. And it's really interesting, the ones that are kind of like, I mean, you get a bunch of reactions. You get ones that, do what we want, of like, okay, like this was hard, but like I can still do it. So like, what are my options? Like, what supports are available? And those are, honestly, those are ones that don't even end up in my office half the time, because they just go and they talk to the professor and they get a tutor and they buckle down and they figure it out.
Yeah.
The ones in my office tend to fall into either the like blaming someone else for it, like, oh, there's a really bad professor and they don't teach
looking
good.
For the answer. They want the answer from you.
Yeah. Or and I don't teach freshmen ever, so I get to kind of play the like impartial person here of like, and talking them through all that. Or you get the like, oh, I can't do it, like I'm not good enough and this and that. And it's just like, I mean, it's simply not true. Like I don't know. I like this stat. I'd be curious what other people think about it, but a couple times now I've run the stats on our graduating seniors. So the people that are like just got their diploma, and I look at what percentage of them got at least one D, F, or W, right? So D, F, or withdrew from a class during their 4 years. Do you have any idea what percentage? So these are the folks that actually graduate. What percentage of them have at least one D, F, or W on their transcript?
Quarter of them.
It's 60%.
Jeez. Wow.
And I should look at the exact number. It's like 60 to 65%.
That's resiliency, by the way.
Well, it's resiliency. It's
we're just being young and messing
well,
up.
and a lot of times it's that. It's just that they aren't used to it. So they come in, they get a D in Calc 1, they fail Calc 1 and have to take it again. Most of them only have 1 or 2, because a lot of the ones that get 3, especially if you get 3 and 4 in a semester, that's when it's usually like you need to like switch majors, or you need to go like take a semester off.
Yeah.
And like decide if you really want to be here or not. There's a whole lot of them. And it was like this past year, I think it was like 60, it was low 60, 61, 62%. And then like 58% both had at least one DF or W and had a job within 6 months of graduating. So it's not like it's hurting their job prep. And that's the conversation I have a lot, because I'll get students, quite frankly, especially female students who sometimes aren't like as encouraged as much in like the STEM professions. They'll be like, they'll get a D or F and something, they'll think like, oh, I'm not cut out for it. And that's, I like having that stat to pull out and be like, no, like this really doesn't mean anything. Like by all means, yes, let's talk about, that's the learning from it part, right?
Yeah.
The F isn't the issue. The issue is, are you going to learn from it and come back and be one of those 60% that graduate, or are you going to let this kind of define who you are?
So I say it with the kids all the time, that the only difference between my black belt and their white belt is I got tapped a whole bunch of times too.
Yeah,
and
I love that saying.
The other analogy I was going to give you was me and Gary Young were talking about, when you were an amateur fighter in MMA, you want to get a couple of hard fights under your belt as an amateur, because when it goes into the pros where your record really makes sense too, you want to have quality wins, but also you want to be tested. So to your point, if you're one of those kids, really easy to get A's and B's, and you know, their mom wasn't giving them math problems that were harder and stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? They didn't understand what challenge was. And so, I mean, it sounds to me, those stats would tell me that you guys got a bunch of white belts in college, like when you get 18, 19, right? It's like, to use the jiu-jitsu analogy, and then they stop making as many mistakes as you grow up a little bit, and you get blue and purple. So I'm going to stay with the jiu-jitsu analogy here, but we're talking about from a philosophy standpoint of like building resiliency. I mean, there's a reason why statistically speaking, one in my in business school, they would talk about hiring wrestlers is one of the college sports that has the highest hiring rate, because recruiters and things know like that dude like spit in cups and didn't eat for a whole month, like, you know what I mean, like they're headstrong, like they'll you better throw a kitchen sink at, you know, because they will problem solve.
Yeah.
And so the general was talking about in terms of soldiers, that's the kind of stuff that they want to build, like that resilience to, like, as you said it before, the first kid that would get a tutor, figure it out, okay, I need to grow up a little bit here, because they're that kind of mindset, and some don't. And I think that's why colleges have put in a lot into like student life type things, and I think it needs to continue more, especially from the mental health aspect. It's getting better, but really helping these kids, because you're right. It's like, no, you're fine for this profession girl that just had life problems and boyfriend broke up with her or something, and she was, you know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah,
just tough
it
it out. And,
yeah.
know, tough it out. Let's work on this stuff. Let's make sure we're getting all these assignments done and making sure, you know what I'm saying? It's like, if they really kind of hammered down, it's like, I bet you could get good grades in this. You know what I mean? If, you know, up here was a little different. So, yeah. I mean, that's, and again, I'll keep relating it back to jiu-jitsu. You know, it's the same way. Like, I always say in jiu-jitsu, one of the best things that you learn how to do is that you have to be self-sufficient, because there's literally nobody else. This is not a team sport. Like, so you start to learn that you have your own destiny in your hands, you know?
Yeah, but
literally.
I think that's, to me, actually kind of the beauty of jiu-jitsu, that it's, yeah, in the match, but it is a team sport, right? I mean, I'm staring at the Jiu-Jitsu for Life team,
sure.
Right?
Yeah,
and that's all the connections and stuff, right? So when it comes down to those, 5 minute, 6 minute match or whatever, it's just you out there, and I get from the, like, you have to be the one to put the work in, but I mean, I think that's the other thing too, is like you aren't doing, like, it's not truly alone.
Yeah.
Yep. Right, because it's all the training matches, it's all the instruction, it's all the locker room conversations that go into it. So, like, yeah, at the end of the day, you are, like, the solo person out there on the mat, but it was a complete team effort to get you there.
Yep.
I gotta imagine it's anyone that's had success, and that's what I tell my students too.
You have to have that. That's being humble, by the way.
Yeah.
Yep.
And that's what I tell my students too all the time, is like, they'll come in, and that's the thing, is like, oh. And I'll ask them, like, hey, are you working in groups? Are you getting a tutor? Are you doing these things? And they're like, oh, I feel like I shouldn't have to. And I'm just like, sometimes I do, actually. If I have a good rapport with them, I got a little, like, foam stress ball. And I don't know, I should make sure my dean doesn't see this, but I actually took my foam stress ball and literally threw it at a student one time, because I'm like, no.
Yeah.
Like, you're being stupid. Like, everyone needs help. You aren't meant to do this by yourself. Like, that is a waste of energy.
It's
to
the
just
same
sit there and
mindset
bash
they
your
say,
head against a wall.
The same mindset they say when someone has, like, depression or something, where they see it from, like, no, I can't have this. It's a denial type of a thing. Like, I shouldn't need help or whatever.
Well,
it's like, sometimes you do, and that's not something that should be, like, okay, go figure it out then. It's fine. Like,
and that gives me back to the community aspect, right? I think I'm taking it all full circle.
No worries.
And, like, just you're, like, strengthening the community through practice of jiu-jitsu or practice of weightlifting, and just the community atmosphere you've created, like, here at the academy and at Barbell too. I mean, like,
thanks, man.
People are always like, oh, how's it doing? Like, you maxed out anything? It's just great, but that's so important. And I think that's something that, honestly, like, as we talk about mental health, and we are talking about more and more, I think that's great. Don't get me wrong, but I think we're starting to fall short a little bit of, like, we need to emphasize, like, okay, like, these are real problems, but, like, what do we do to fix it? And yeah, there are things to do individually, but just getting out there and being a community and supporting each other and noticing, like, the things I get from the Jiu-Jitsu Academy. It's like, oh, hey, I haven't seen you in a couple weeks. What's going on? Like, that sort of, like, check-in, like, man, that buys so much more than, the meds or mindfulness, right? They're all important. Don't get me wrong. Like, I do mindfulness. I am on medication. Like, these things all help. But, man, like, coming in and, like, seeing people, and it's not just the physicality. It's having that, like, check-in, and people that, like, genuinely care about you do so much for your overall well-being. And, yeah, so, I mean, I think that's a big reason, like, why'd I start the physicality. Why I stay? It's the community and the atmosphere.
That's I mean, it's a really good point. I mean, not only I think as we're starting to wrap up here too, but the understanding of a lot of times why people do things too. They say in business school to not tell people what you do, it's the why you do it.
Yeah.
And so, like, you don't teach kids because you make money. Like, that's silly. You know what I mean?
If I were for the money, there'd be any number of other things.
I know. I wouldn't think you were super smart. You know what I'm saying? It's like I always say about like AIM being an educator. And
Yeah.
I was like, if she was in it for the money, I said, she's a super smart lady. I said, probably. But it's like the different things why you do it. Now, what gets you there, sure. Like sometimes it's, I watched a UFC or something like that, and it's like, whatever. Sometimes the reason why people find, value and meaning into things is what they put on it. Like a sense of community, a sense of just relationships. I say hi to everybody that's at Finley Barbell. Like every single time they're out there, I say, hi, how are you? See you later. I say it to everybody. And that's just something that I've seen over the years in very, very good teams and very good weight rooms and very good bosses too. Like athletic director at the University of Finley, he'll walk through and he'll say hi to everybody he sees, every single person. And most people he knows first name basis too. Yeah. And he makes you feel like, yeah, that's the guy who's in charge too, and it makes you feel like you're a part of it. And that's one thing that I think jiu-jitsu schools do a fantastic job of. I feel everybody could be better, all the time on checking up on someone they haven't talked to in a little bit, like you had mentioned, if you haven't seen them, like, where you reach out externally to there too. But I mean, I hope they feel at least like Kev was in today, and I haven't seen Kev in 2 weeks. I'm like, hey, what's up, man? Just asking him how the last 2 weeks have been since I've seen him last too. That that you got people inside your community that, genuinely care what you've been up to the past 2 weeks,
Yeah.
Not only is it, I hope make them come in a little bit more too, and it's like, tell us about what you've been doing a little bit more often or something. But also just the sense of people caring about each other within the community, and more about not just having training partners, but just because they genuinely want to know. Or like you said, you create friendships and relationships within the gyms, going through battle with people and going on the mats and choking each other and stuff. It's kind of funny, it creates bonds and connections. So just to finish up here too, Larry, it says what you're working on next, though, and you Gary kind of talked to us about that one, but any last bits on what you would recommend for someone, maybe even trying out jiu-jitsu from your side?
Yeah, so last bits. I mean, I think on the jiu-jitsu front, I almost get made fun of at work a little bit, if anything, because I'm kind of stereotypical, like, always talking about it and whatnot. But I think honestly that's died off a bit. I think partially because it's like people are starting to see it's like helping the university too by doing it. So yeah, I mean, jiu-jitsu, I recommend it to everyone. I really can't, like, I'm starting, I don't have the right words to put into it. I mean, if you've ever thought about it, like, by all means, find an academy. If you're in the Findlay area, come on out. We'd always love to have you. Always love to see new people on the mat somewhere else. If you're like my wife and, just can't stand the thought of being that close to people, well, still maybe give it a try. Find one person you're comfortable with to start with. But, I mean, find something else, whether that's right, lifting at barbell or another thing. I mean, I think that's so, like, strengthening the community. We'd love for it to be through, lifting or jiu-jitsu or both. But, I mean, find something, because you have to have that community attachment. In my opinion, that's, it's just so important. And then just, I mean, quick plug for Ohio Northern University. I mean, so if you have any questions at all, you can go to our website, onu.edu. Shoot me an email, l-funke, Funke, at onu.edu. Program's growing, bringing in new faculty members that are super exciting. Plenty of resources. We got laser cutters and metal 3D printers and all sorts of cool stuff in the machine shop coming in new all the time. So exciting time to be in engineering, in my opinion.
I feel like, I mean, we could have a whole new podcast on it, but just like with with the invention of AI and stuff and how that can shortcut a lot of things too. I feel like some fields are about to go like this and skyrocket because of the capabilities. Like, look at what took off in the technological age from the 90s. And like when computing power went up, it's like everybody else is like, we don't have to do this on paper anymore. Okay. We can go use our big old brains into figuring out the next thing, And I feel like, as to your point, like, it's going to explode. And, if you're the chair of a university program or anything like that, it's like you want to be the ones that everybody talks about. Like, yeah, they went to Boeing or wherever else and figured some things out, or, they have high job placements and securities and things like that too. And just, I know we're not always trying to find like the next discovery and breakthrough and everything else, but as it goes with like a jiu-jitsu academy, you want to have solid students that are headstrong, that are going to want to go out there and, figure some things out. And if they run into problems, well, they're going to figure that out too. So, that's the idea. So, Larry, thank you very much again too, man.
Thanks for having me.
Coming in, like we get, that's the fun thing when we were prepping for this conversation, and what I do with all my guests on here, like where we just naturally talk about things that we're passionate about, and it's like that's where you're going to get some of the best conversation. It's like if you ask us to sit here and talk about like baseball or something, I'm sure we could find some like fun things that we find about it, but no knock on baseball, but it's like I'm not super passionate about baseball like I am in jiu-jitsu or whatever. But to Larry's point about this, if it's not jiu-jitsu and you're listening, if you happen to be maybe one of Larry's students and came across the podcast or something like that, find something. When he said the reference earlier, it's about failing or breaking the chip. You said I already burned up this chip.
Yeah.
I was thinking of it's a musical quote where they'd say, I can't remember, somebody can maybe help me with this, but it's nobody created any cool guitar solos without breaking a string.
Yeah.
And it's like, is in the same point, or I've heard chefs have their own thing too. Like you make a mess sometimes. It's like you mess it up and it's okay, And so whatever that is, that kind of that tool that you're using in your life that unlocks that part of your brain where you're just like, okay, throw it away and try again. Like I've heard it, people like when they're gardeners or they're chefs too. We watch a lot of cooking shows and stuff, and they have that mindset. That's what's going to carry you. Hopefully, I mean, I like it also being something physical, and I need it to be something physical. But some people, they need it to be what they need it to be. And if it's something that's giving you value and it's something that's making you a better person, then do it. Absolutely. So. Yep. Thank you guys for listening to the podcast as well. And hope to see you very soon. And check out any of our previous podcasts that we had talked about on there as well, guys. Everything's on YouTube, Spotify. If you'll just listen to it on Apple Podcasts. And hope to see you guys soon. Thank you.